News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
With a look at this hour's news headlines now at 5:05, I'm Will Fiore. Well, an Ogden family is pleading for the return of some of their irreplaceable personal items after a storage unit company mistakenly auctioned off their storage unit last week. Michael and Mandy Lee say they discovered the mistake through a letter from the company, Storage City Ogden, which admitted that their lock had been cut and their unit was sold during a scheduled auction that was intended for a different customer. Now, the 14 by 40 foot unit had contained approximately $50,000 worth of appliances, medical equipment, and also furniture. But the family says the emotional loss is far greater. The auction also included wedding photos, mission journals, and mementos of their deceased son. Now, Storage City Ogden, as it's called the incident an unprecedented mix-up, and they've advised the family to file an insurance claim. Meanwhile, the Lees, though, are asking anyone that may have participated in that auction to please return their sentimental keepsakes and family photographs. What a tragedy. Meanwhile, a West Jordan man has been found guilty of illegally distributing a controlled substance through a website that had been dedicated to selling poppy seed wash kits used to produce opiate-rich tea. Now, Devin Michael II had operated the site from at least 2018 through 2022, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Utah. Now, federal prosecutors said that II had marketed kits containing unwashed poppy seeds that yielded morphine and codeine. Now, evidence revealed that the operation was highly lucrative, generating hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, II reportedly admitted to federal agents that his business was withdrawing around $10,000 every day. Now, while a sentencing date has yet to be set, II faces significant federal penalties for the distribution of controlled substances. And finally, a 24-year-old woman is facing felony child abuse charges after allegedly strangling a juvenile girl during a physical altercation at a Taylorsville residence. Chris Conan was arrested on counts of intentional aggravated child abuse and intentional child abuse. Now, according to court documents, the victim had reported that a verbal dispute had escalated when Conan had punched her, dragged her by the hair, and then placed her in a chokehold. Now, the victim told police that the pressure on her neck temporarily prevented her from being able to breathe. Now, responding officers noted visible injuries on the girl. When located by police, Conan reportedly admitted to the physical altercation and the use of a chokehold, claiming that it had occurred after the juvenile had thrown trash at her. Well, we're going to continue to enjoy clear skies through the rest of the afternoon as temperatures have been in the low 60s today. Tonight will drop into the mid-30s. Then warmer weather coming as we'll make it into the 70s for tomorrow and Friday, mid-70s for the weekend, 80s for the first of next week, as by Monday and Tuesday, looks like we could see temperatures in the mid to high 80s. So some very warm and dry weather headed our way through the next 7 days. And it's weather brought to you by Mountain Valley Heating. Speaking of warm, dry air, you know, if you're looking to put in a humidifier in your home, it's very easy to do. Mountain Valley Heating and Air can install a steam humidifier that uses just a gallon of water, putting more humidity into your air and also improving the air quality in your home by doing it. Call Mountain Valley Heating at 753-5170 to install that steam humidifier into your home. It's Mountain Valley Heating and Air. And I'm Will Fiorite with another check of your local news coming up at the bottom of the hour.
This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance, and we are now Alera Group. This is great news for you. Now you have more choices and strength of a top national broker in your corner with our local personal service. Every situation is unique. Now we can tailor coverages from deductibles and limits to risk management, so it fits you even better. Let's compare options and tighten your program. Same friendly faces, same local office. Call 435-752-0101.
The station for news and talk. KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
I'm married with 2 kids.
I'm a veteran. I own my own business.
I'm a retired school teacher. And
I've had thoughts of suicide.
But, thankfully,
My granddaughter made a point of checking in on me.
Spencer noticed when I was distancing myself.
one of my buddies, he was worried about me.
Having someone
When I wasn't myself.
When I need it most,
Help me live on.
live on.
live on.
Connection can prevent suicide. Learn more at liveonutah.org.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People, hour 2 of today's show. It is 61 degrees here at the Radio Ranch at 5:10 in the afternoon. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and very excited to move into this next hour. We have a report from the state on homelessness, specifically the state's Utah Office of Homeless Services showing short version, chronic homelessness and the related crime is a nightmare for law enforcement, and it's one that law enforcement likely can't solve on their own. Tyler Clancy writing an executive summary of this report. We'll talk about it in the latter part of this hour, but starting things off here today with a very special guest who has already had quite a busy week, and we appreciate him making time for us, despite some of the unfortunate news we learned this morning that commissioners in Box Elder County had received threats and had been required to, accept police protection at their homes. This shouldn't happen. I mean, that goes without saying. But despite all of that, he agreed to join us here today and talk about an issue everyone's talking about, the proposed AI data center in Box Elder County after the commission voted to move ahead with an interlocal agreement on Monday. The process officially begins, including the process of trying to answer some unanswered questions. So joining us now, Box Elder County Commissioner Lee Perry. And Commissioner, again, appreciate taking some time for us today. I know with all of this, what the shouting and honestly some name calling I saw on Monday, news that unfortunately you and the other commissioners had received threats that law enforcement thought were serious enough to respond to and offer protection. No one would blame you at this point if you at least took the week and disappeared. And I appreciate you not doing that, being here and talking about this. So thank you again in advance for your time.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Jason.
It's honestly a pleasure to have you join us here on the show, because I have to point this out. For those who weren't there on Monday, you were the calmest person in that room. How'd you do it?
Well, I don't know. I'm glad I appeared that calm. I've been through the process. Having served in the legislature, been a police officer. And then, of course, in this particular situation, even though it was extremely fast, I have studied, I've read the emails, I've read the information, I've asked the questions, and I came to what I felt like, and I think my fellow commissioners did the same, came to the best conclusion we could come to benefit and protect the citizens of Box Elder County.
After speaking with you on Monday, I came into this a pretty big skeptic. I still am in several ways personally, but I learned a lot on Monday. I've learned a lot over the last couple of weeks, and I appreciated you and I talked for a bit on Monday. You said that you felt that you and the other commissioners felt that this vote was the only way to make sure Box Elder County wasn't just kind of cut entirely out of the loop, removed from the table. This was a way to keep the county at the table as things progress. Is that a fair characterization of your thoughts?
That is pretty accurate. That's exactly what we were feeling like, is that we would be left out if we didn't step up. And we didn't. Everybody kept saying, you're voting for a data center. And I know that it could be semantics, but we actually were voting to join MIDA and have MIDA take over control of this area and work with us to give us a seat at the table. That's actually what was voted on. We didn't officially vote and say, yes, build a data center. That will be up to the Military Infrastructure Development Authority that we voted to join and work with.
This is also a process that is probably going to play out over a longer period of time than anyone really realizes, and going to be a while before a single shovel of dirt is turned in the proposed location. I noticed, on Monday, and correct me if this was just my read, but I got the sense that from the three of you, the commissioners there on the dais, and some of the other remarks that were made, that there was a little bit of tension between Box Elder County and the state, or even MIDA directly, over this. Can you speak to that a little bit? Do you feel, was Box Elder County kind of, rushed into this by the state, or?
Sure, we were brought in last. I mean, that's the frustrating part for us as commissioners is, we would encourage moving forward. If the state ever wants to do something like this in the future, they need to bring the local authorities in at the beginning and start early. And there's another reason they didn't have to bring us in, and that's something about unzoned property we can talk about. But so reality is, we got brought in late. We were told that it's because somebody dropped the ball. Like I said, all we can do is believe what they're telling us. But apparently, somewhere along the line, state folks had discussions, et cetera. It got to MIDA, the military folks, the military infrastructure folks. They had a meeting. They were told that we were aware of it, and they said, "Well, let's go meet with them." And then that's when they were told, "Oh, well, they're not aware of it." So the folks from MIDA actually were the first to come and talk to us officially from the state. But in the meantime, we actually had landowners calling and saying, "Hey, we're getting ready to sign documents and put our land under contract for this project." And we're like, "What project?" And that's when we called our state senator, and he called and found out that it's had this MIDA blessing, and they called us, and it was back and forth, and it happened relatively fast that we met with them. And we were very skeptic, and we really weren't happy with MIDA when they in the room the first time to tell us what was coming. And so that's kind of where we're at as a county. And it took us a while to say, okay, let's go meet with the landowners, because this is private property. And I want to hear what the landowners have to say, because honestly, I was skeptical to think that they actually had landowners in western Box Elder County that were on board with this.
Sure.
But again, go back to 1955s when Thiokol came to Utah and wanted to build a rocket manufacture place out in western Howell, not quite as far out as this, but out in western Box Elder County. And I'm sure a lot of skeptics were around back then. We just didn't have social media and all the things we have today, but
sure.
That turned out to be a huge win for Box Elder County and for the citizens and that farmer, because they developed 20,000 acres, and they've sent people to the moon and into space. And they also provided a lot of missiles and defense for our country all over the world, and had employed a lot of people. That's how I ended up in Box Elder County. Was my dad was hired by Thiokol to work there, and so that's how I ended up being born and raised here in this area. So
sure.
That's when you think about it, it's a similar type of thing. That's what I think these farmers and the ranchers and people who own the property out there basically saw this as a win-win. They can sell their property, make a good profit on it, I'm assuming, but they also are allowed to lease back the property and continue to farm and have their cows out there anywhere where there's not current development occurring. And that's one of the other misnomers. Everybody keeps saying it's a 40,000 acre data center. That is anything but the truth. There is 40,000 acres being put into this MIDA area, but the actual development for the data center and the energy will be a much smaller footprint. So it could be maybe it gets as large as a 5,000 acre campus of the data centers and the energy production and all that kind of thing. And then if you look at the map, you'll notice it's broken into three different areas. There's one up by the freeway, and then there's two other areas. One would be the data center energy area. The other would be, right now, it's not going to be doing anything unless advanced manufacturing comes in and says, hey, we could build components for the data center out here and be really close and not put any more trucks on the road and that kind of thing. So
okay,
that would be down the road.
And do you feel that that's where, with moving ahead with this interlocal agreement, keeping Box Elder at the table, do you feel where that's where the county could maybe come in and have some influence in as you mentioned, that the footprint of the actual center is not going to be 40,000 acres. This is 40,000 acres of land that's, being discussed here. Do you feel the county can then have some say over what happens with the rest of that land? I know there was mention Monday of an agreement that no permanent housing would be built out there, and that was a concession the county asked for, right?
Yes, we did. The reason we asked for it is because the way this is going to work, we're not going to get the property taxes we would normally get if it was a regular development that works through MIDA, And because of the lack of property taxes, we ended up negotiating energy taxes and some other taxes that will be significantly higher than we would get off of property taxes. And we know that if we put residential houses out there, they wouldn't pay any property taxes, but they may have children, and that would put a burden on our school district to have to go out there and bus children to various schools. And so we just said, you know what, that's a no-go. We just don't need to have another bunch of houses out there and where we'd have to send school buses a considerable distance to pick kids up and transport them to schools, either to Snowville or into Tremont or somewhere like that.
Sure. Again, speaking with Box Elder County Commissioner Lee Perry, former state lawmaker and one of the commissioners on hand Monday in this vote that, everyone in the state was paying attention to. Wow, I mean, there was even national news coverage. You don't see that in Box Elder County often, right? Monday morning, there was a Washington Post story as we headed into this. It's obviously attracted attention. These data centers themselves do. But you mentioned it, and I wanted to spend some time on this because it seemed to be an area where people were showing the most confusion when I spoke with Box Elder residents who came to learn on Monday. And you've talked about this a lot, but you mentioned the unzoned land, and you and other commissioners on Monday mentioned this is an issue that for years you've been trying to kind of raise awareness of some of the challenges the unzoned land in Box Elder County presents to counties' long-term planning. So can you explain to people so this immediate issue, this immediate proposal required the county to agree to an interlocal agreement, and yet at the same time, issues with unzoned land, things like that, tie the hands of the county. Do I understand correctly? Both of those things kind of happening at the same time?
Yeah. So, what happens with unzoned land is we're one of only 3 counties in the state that still has unzoned land in it. And it was commissioners from many years ago that made that decision not to zone a lot of our county, thinking, well, these are farmers and ranchers and they can do what they want with it. And at the time, people thought that was probably fine and nobody could have ever envisioned something like this.
Sure.
With unzoned land, there's very little control the county has. With zoned land, anything that's zoned, if it's in an unincorporated county or zoned land in a city, has to go in front of a planning commission before you can change zoning and do something different. So if this land had been zoned, anything other than unzoned, they would have had to come to our planning commission and request a change of zoning. So we would have known far sooner because they would have to go through that step bare minimum before they could really even go down this road and say, hey, can we buy this property? They'd have to come and say, we'd like to work with these property owners to have this land rezoned to industrial or whatever they decided to, they're going to call it out there. As it stands, I can't even reverse it because they're already going down the road, and I can't go in and, like your house, I can't come in and say, hey, I've decided to zone the property around your house as commercial, so you're going to have to start selling something from your front door because we're changing the zone on your home.
Sure.
You can't do that after somebody's moved in. Now, you personally could request to have it changed, but I can't, as a government, come in and force it on somebody. So, that becomes the problem, and that's what we were faced with. Private property, private water rights, and unzoned land. You can pretty much do about anything you want out there, other than a few things that are restricted by the state and federal government. But all we can do as a county is if they decide that the company by itself without MIDA had bought that land, they could come in and say, we want to hook onto this gas line, produce this power. We want to build a data center, and here's our plan. And they could walk into my county building official's office, drop it on his lap, and then because of rules at the state, we have 21 days from the time we get that to when we have to say, yep, this plan fits. I mean, it works. There's no restriction. We have very little we can restrict on a building plan.
Sure.
And we'd have to say, all right, go ahead. And they could build this whole operation out there. And then all the county would get at that point would be the property taxes, which would be far lower than what we're getting out of the MIDA deal.
Sure. Understandable. So if this had been, if more land in the county was actually zoned, then that regular process would have kicked in, the public planning commission meetings, because that to me seems to be what I think created a lot of the ruckus around this. People felt like a normal process didn't play out here. But maybe some misunderstanding on, or maybe two different elements that contributed to that, both the state and MIDA kind of pushing this on the county too late in the game, but then also the county with this unzoned land not being able to go through that regular process. What are the options for the county on resolving this problem? Because I assume this could affect long-term planning as the county grows generally.
I would think so. Well, what we have been doing for the last two and a half years is we've been promoting the idea to zone your land. And just probably about a year and a half ago, we came up with a new zone in Boxer County called Agriculture Heritage Zones, which is probably what most of these places are. They're originally founded as agriculture areas that have been there for years, and farmers and ranchers want these places to be kept in agriculture or whatever. And so we developed this new zone, different than all the others, and said, you know what, if you got a farm that's 1,700 acres or 10,000 acres, you can put it in it, zone it all agriculture heritage in one big fell swoop. And then you can subdivide it if you decide you want to take a chunk out and zone it something else, you can. It's your choice, but you'll still have to go through the Planning and Zoning Commission to make that all happen. And if you call it Ag Heritage, you could build 4 or 5 houses for your kids if you wanted on it. And so as long as it's big enough and fits the needs for septic and all those kind of things, and they have enough water. So that's really the idea on that. And so we're trying to encourage, and we're going to continue to push that. And as MIDA does town hall meetings up here about this project, we'll probably have our planning and zoning folks out there explaining what this Ag Heritage Zone is and encouraging our citizens to go down that road and zone the rest of our county something. But preferably, I mean, if that's what they want to keep it as and keep that historic, we would suggest that Ag Heritage Zone. I
can see this being helpful for long-term planning. Just a quick, I mean, not totally unrelated question, but how fast is Box Elder County growing? I know Tremonton is expecting some explosive population growth. Is the county itself also?
Oh, yeah, the county as a whole. I mean, we've got quite a bit of growth in South Willard. We've had growth in Tremonton. Brigham City's expecting some more growth. So, yeah, it's not the fastest growing county in the state by any, but we're also not by far the slowest, I'm sure.
This is, again, so many moving pieces with this whole conversation. For listeners out there, if you're, having a hard time keeping it all in your head, don't worry. We all are, including the commissioners, as was expressed on Monday. There is a lot to this, but and then you throw, growth challenges, water challenges, air challenges on top of that. Commissioner, you mentioned to me when we again spoke briefly on Monday that you appreciated some of the information that had come forward in the week between the decision to delay a decision and then Monday moving ahead with the interlocal agreement. And you mentioned specifically Dr. Robert Davies at USU Climate Center. On Monday, you heard from a representative of the Bear River Water District, and you said this has all been really helpful, and you, like others, have a lot of unanswered questions. You hope that the answers will be coming soon?
Yeah, I mean, these scientists from Utah State shared some very valuable insights about, what's the difference between 3.5 gigawatts of energy and what that produces in pollution or whatever, CO2 gas versus when they get to 9, and can they even get to 9? And the reality is we know they can't get to 9 on the current gas line that's there.
Okay.
So that's one of the factors that we're made aware of, and that was something from a scientific standpoint. I was like, oh, I'm glad to hear that. So now we have to figure out what are they going to do. And I think that, they may have all cards on the table. Maybe they put some solar out there. Maybe they do some other things to generate energy versus all natural gas to get to their 9 if that's what they want to go to. Maybe they choose not to go to 9. But sure. that's a personal choice. And again, hearing all these things about water and water quality and knowing that this well and all this spring and everything that's out there, the rights they bought are all privately owned. That's helpful information for us to know that this is not just water going down a creek that belongs to anybody. It belongs to people who paid for it. It's their water to use as they see fit. And if they want to sell it to somebody, it's their right, just like selling their land.
Sure. I appreciate taking the time for this today. And I hope people get to hear, more of kind of a toned down conversation. I know on Monday that there were those there just to make noise. I know that there were those there. I spoke with people out in the protest wings outside who were there in support, just hoping to learn more, who were completely opposed, but also hoping to learn more. And that learn more thing just kept coming up again and again. So final question here for you. And again, appreciate taking so much time for us today. But what are the next steps in this process? Again, this isn't going to happen quickly, right?
No, the next steps, quicker than a lot of people would like it to, I'm sure. But next steps will be they got to get a building, they got to issue for a building permit. MIDA has to accept everything. We'll provide some names to council and work with MIDA on this project that will be county experts in a lot of these areas and categories, and including they're going to allow one landowner to serve on this committee to kind of give guidance and direction. Then they'll also have to go through DEQ, environmental studies for air quality and water quality. And so there's still those steps, and I understand that there's people that challenge the water rights. So there are steps that still have to be taken care of by MIDA and by this company to move this forward before they can be up and operational. And the reality is, we've even got it in our little guidelines, the guardrails we put in place. They're going to pay $5 million, more than they probably would in property taxes. In all fairness, they're going to be paying over $5 million a year to the county to monitor them and provide them the services necessary while they build this.
Wow! So
we're going to be able to provide fire, police, ambulance, and roads department ability, and plus enough money to hire a full-time manager to watch what they're doing and keep an eye on them and watch everything that's happening out there as this thing grows and is built, and continue to give them, hey, this is not good for our county. This is whatever. So there is a real benefit that they're willing to step forward and give back and say, this is what we're going to do. We'll start paying a bigger chunk of what would be property taxes now out of that, what they're getting it back to MIDA. They're going to pay it out of their funds to basically be good neighbors or partners, so to speak, to say, yeah, we get it. We shouldn't burden the current Box Elder County taxpayers for what we're doing to build and grow out here.
Sure. It's, quite a different picture painted from our conversation today than what, oftentimes makes its way onto social media. And that, I'm sure, is no surprise to you. But I hope it is to our listeners. Again, county commissioners in a tough spot on this one and had to move ahead. They did what they felt was best, keeping Box Elder County at the table. And a pleasure to be able to explore more of the issues around all of this as it moves forward, affecting all of northern Utah, really. And Commissioner, I have to throw this out as well. Hats off to Box Elder County's Lynette Crockett and her team from organizing that event on Monday in a flawless way, from getting all those people inside and then back outside. Nothing went wrong, but more so appreciate the communication with the media and the public. And for listeners, a quick note on that. A lot of information on this project, downloadable kits, photos, maps, everything at boxeldercountyut.gov. But yeah, Lynette and crew, bang up job from them. So give them a shout out for us.
And I will, and I can't say enough good about our Sheriff's Department and the Utah Highway Patrol and the law enforcement entities that were out there to support us and keep us safe. And so, yes, we had some great folks that really did a lot of work to make that happen and to give the public a chance to come in here. And that's why we moved it to a bigger venue that day, is to try and give the public a chance to hear what was happening.
It was, again, pulled off without a flaw. I saw the crowd when I pulled up, and I thought, this is going to be a circus. And it wasn't. As you mentioned, thanks to law enforcement, thanks to Lynette and her team in the planning. And, again, great outreach. Love to see that from a county. And
I will tell you, we were grateful for the 2,500 plus information that came in, all the comments, because people said, no public comment. We received over 2,500 public comments that came in written format. And so we want people to know we were listening, we were hearing it. We just didn't have public comment there in the meeting as far as to be yelled at. We were receiving it in a written format.
Sure. Understandable. And again, I really appreciate taking the time to do this today. I hope we have opportunity, and I hope temperatures continue to cool on all this. We hope we have an opportunity to speak with you regularly about this. And please keep us updated. I know we're way up here in Cache Valley, but we're with you there in Box Elder County.
I'm there to visit with my friends in Cache Valley on a regular basis. So thank you.
Very nice. Well, stop by the studio anytime, and I'm sure we'll have an excuse to speak again soon.
Great. Take care. Have a good day.
Thank you for your time, and best to you and your family, also to the other commissioners and everyone at Box Elder County for the job they've done. Really, again, inviting the public in, keeping the media in the loop. It's been really impressive to see. Our guest again, Box Elder County Commissioner Lee Perry. Thank you to Commissioner Perry for your time, and to our listeners, thank you for your time. Stick around. More of For the People and a new report on homelessness in Utah, the burden it's putting on law enforcement. Right after this look at the news with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Well, thank you, Jason. A month-long nationwide crackdown on child exploitation reportedly resulted in the arrest of more than 350 offenders and the recovery of over 200 victims, including a 10-year-old from here in Utah. Now, the U.S. Department of Justice recently announced the results of what they called Operation Iron Pursuit, which had mobilized all 56 FBI field offices through the month of April. Now, the initiative had targeted predators and had sought to rescue children from sexual abuse and trafficking. Now, Robert Bowles, special agent in charge of the FBI's Salt Lake City field office, said that every child matters and deserves the opportunity to grow up free from harm. Now, he also emphasized that federal partners remain committed to holding those who prey on the vulnerable accountable. Now, First Assistant U.S. Attorney Melissa Holyoke stated that protecting children still remains the top priority in the District of Utah. Now, officials have not released specific details regarding the recovered Utah child to protect the victim's privacy. And after achieving their preseason goal of reaching the postseason, the Utah Mammoth are now shifting their focus from simply qualifying to winning in the postseason. Now, following a 6-game series loss to the Vegas Golden Knights over the weekend, General Manager Bill Armstrong emphasized that suffering a little pain is necessary for the young roster's growth. Now, the Mammoth were less than a minute away from a 3-2 series lead in Game 5 before Vegas rallied. Head coach Andre Tourné noted that the experience was less about the players' ages and more about the group learning to navigate the trenches during difficult times. Now, off-season evaluations are now beginning for pending free agents Alexander Kerfoot, Kyler Yamamoto, while also several first-round prospects are pushing to make it onto the Mammoth roster. And finally, new numbers out show that U.S. ski areas recorded an estimated 52.5 million visits this past season, marking a 9% decline. Now, preliminary data from the National Ski Areas Association shows a drop of approximately 9 million visits from the previous year. Now, while the Rocky Mountain region still led with 20.1 million visits, areas like here in Utah were hit hard by inconsistent snowfall and record warm temperatures in March. Now, in contrast, parts of the Northeast and Southeast reported their second-best season in a decade, benefiting from consistent cold temperatures. Now, despite the national downturn, though, resorts say they still invested over $569 million in upgrades, including, of course, a new lodge that was opened at Beaver Mountain, and season passes still remain very popular, accounting for about 49% of all visits. Now, final Utah-specific data is expected to be released later this spring. Well, we're definitely going to see some warm and dry conditions over the next several days as temperatures have been in the low 60s today. Tonight we'll drop into the mid-30s. Tomorrow, make it into the 70s. We'll continue to see 70-degree temperatures through the rest of the week and into the weekend, with 80s coming for next week. And weather this hour is brought to you by Whole Tree Care. When it comes to trimming and safely removing trees from your property, you don't want to try to do it yourself. Let the professionals at Whole Tree Care take care of it for you. They have over 30 years of experience. It's Whole Tree Care. Call them today at 760-6587. And I'll have another check of local news coming up at 6:30. For KVNU News, I'm Will Feelright.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Sources tell ABC News the U.S. is now pursuing a short-term agreement with Iran.
We're told there have been multiple drafts of this passed back and forth in recent days, and that the U.S. currently sees the ball in Iran's court with a response from Tehran due back to the American side on some of the outstanding points.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy. This as the Pentagon says U.S. forces attacked and disabled an Iranian-flagged tanker today after it tried to break through the American blockade. The cruise ship at the center of the deadly suspected hantavirus outbreak now on its way to the Canary Islands. Earlier today, 3 people were evacuated from the ship. A federal judge this afternoon unsealing a purported suicide note by Jeffrey Epstein left behind before his first attempt to kill himself. It was found by his one-time cellmate, the note ending with, quote, "no fun, not worth it." Meanwhile, today, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick finished his closed-door testimony to a House committee about his relationship with Epstein. This is ABC News.
Did you know you can cut your Rocky Mountain power bill by 40 to 50% without a single solar panel? With the new time of use rates, power is 4.5 times more expensive in the evening, but cheap during the day. At Greenbox Solar, we install smart home batteries that charge up when electricity is cheap, then power your home during peak hours. Solar is totally optional and can be added in the future, but savings are guaranteed. Drop by Greenbox Solar's showroom in South Logan to see the hardware for yourself. Visit our website at poweredbygreenbox.com.
Get your cooling fixed, call Gary Riggs. Get your AC fixed, call Gary Riggs. If you're having cooling problems, we're here to get them fixed. Just pick up the phone and call Gary Riggs. 435-512-6633. We'll come to you. Our service fee is low, just $25. We repair all brands and have certified installers. Get your cooling fixed, call Gary Riggs. Get your AC fixed, call Gary Riggs.
Did your washer just quit and now your laundry is piling up? If your appliance is broken down, give Daryl's Appliance a call. This is Jay with Daryl's Appliance. We are the only appliance shop in Cache Valley that offers service and sales. That means we have an exclusive, no-stress service call offer. You can apply your service trip fee to a new appliance if you decide you want a new appliance instead. Save time and money with everything under one roof. Servicing northern Utah and southern Idaho at Daryl's Appliance. West on Airport Road. See store for details.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice, and I'm here with Barbara. Barbara, how did you become acquainted with Primrose?
I had been trying to get another company to come and help me, and I had waited about 2 weeks, and I needed a bath. My neighbor suggested that she would make a few phone calls, and that very afternoon, Mark Stokes was sitting in my front room, and he said, "What do you need?"
Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
I'm Jay Sallin, founder of Allen Law. My focus has always been helping families protect what matters most through meaningful estate planning. I've now joined forces with attorney mediator Chris Guyman of the Conflict Resolution Center and seasoned litigator Sam Goebel to form the Allies Law Firm. Whether you're planning ahead, resolving marital conflict, or facing a courtroom battle, we bring strategy, strength, and experience together under one roof. Because when it matters most, you deserve the Allies Law Firm. Call the Allies Law Firm today. We plan, we fight, you win.
This is Logan River head golf professional Jeff John. The golf course is in full swing. The new carts are in, and the men's and ladies clubs are going strong. Starting today through next Wednesday, May 6th, all punch passes will be on sale at the lowest price of the season. Prices will never be this low again. Now through next Wednesday, mention this ad and receive 20% off any men's, ladies wear, or hats in stock. Logan River Golf Course. Play well, play fair, play fast.
There are moments that shape a lifetime, from first plans to first steps, backyard throws to big wins. And for the biggest decisions, who you choose matters. Where life starts, home begins. Bank of Utah Home Loans. Find out how Bank of Utah can serve you by going to bankofutah.com. Bank of Utah is an equal housing lender, member FDIC, NMLS number 422914.
This Mother's Day, surprise mom with a watch from S.E. Needham Jewelers. With the purchase of $149 or more, receive dinner for two and a spring bouquet of flowers. Choose from a large selection of Seiko, Citizen, Tissot, and Fossil watches. All watches are priced at internet pricing. You'll enjoy a large selection of quality watches at the best possible price. All watches are backed by our in-store watch technicians with free watch band adjustment and lifetime battery changes. Remember, dinner for two and flowers with the purchase of $149 or more. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Adams Wealth Advisors tailors your future with expert in-house help. You need a CPA? No problem. Legal help? They can do that. And of course, certified financial planners with years of experience watching over every move.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind, whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit AdamsWealthAdvisors.com or call 752-1702 to schedule a time with an advisor today.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Thanks again to Commissioner Lee Perry for joining us. Last time we had that guy on the show, it was Representative Lee Perry. But I have to say, probably one of the most thoughtful people that I've had. Not the most thoughtful, but one of. I'm just kidding, in case he's still listening. But honestly, very thoughtful person, and always appreciated his approach to the legislative process. And I'm saying this as a big skeptic of the investors that are pushing AI. As I've said many times on the show, I think they're overselling it because they have money on the line. I think there's still a big question over whether AI ever gets to where they're promising it's already at. It's not where they're promising it's at, and I question whether it'll ever get there. It's software still, and there are limitations, and its utility and practical applications in a lot of arenas remain to be seen. You can see some obvious things, right? You can see use of, we've talked about this here. Now, we don't use AI here in our newsroom, but we've talked about it. So, in our newsroom, we have longer form stories by our news team written for CashValleyDaily.com, and someone has to distill those down into a 30-second to 1 minute story that could be read on air here on KVNU. You could see AI being a useful tool in that arena. But right now, if you used AI to do that, you still have to go back and re-edit it all because you can't trust the AI. Which is why we don't use it. But it's just one potential application. I've also seen, applications of AI that make absolute sense. One of them being, monitoring the performance of certain equipment in a hospital behind the scenes, not patient data, but using AI to augment the abilities of IT. To anticipate problems with equipment in a hospital setting where, faulty equipment could cost a life. That's a practical application. But, sticking with the hospital example, if you are a person who thinks you'd be willing to undergo robotic surgery controlled by AI software, I think you'd be making a huge mistake right now. They call them hallucinations, but what that really means is the AI isn't working. It's not very smart. So I'm a skeptic on all of this. And again, I'm not convinced this isn't a gigantic bubble about to burst that's just being propped up by investors. I could be wrong, but I'm not convinced I'm not. So that's one part of this. But at the same time, the concerns here are valid. I try not to do this anymore, but I got arguing online with, I'm not a big fan of this abundance thing. Governor Cox is all on board, and I don't know. I don't like slogans. If something lends itself well to a bumper sticker slogan in politics, you should be suspicious, and abundance is like that. And some of the abundance crew, the two authors of the book and others who are big fans, have been out, not even from Utah, but have been out saying, this is just, Box Elder County residents are just technologically ignorant. That was what one person actually said. And they're being NIMBYs. It's just this not in my backyard stuff. No, I don't think that's what's going on at all. The way I got arguing with this person is I said, hey, I talked to a couple of county commissioners myself who said they had these same questions and that they were valid questions and that they weren't answered yet. Questions about water use, questions about pumping superheated water back into the aquifer, questions about emissions at 9 gigawatts of power production. As we learned from Lee Perry, that's something that right now they don't even think they could get to 9 gigawatts of power consumption through the existing pipeline. So, what does that mean going forward? These are all examples of why these questions need to be asked, why the answers need to come. And no, Box Elder County residents asking these questions, abundance bros, including, unfortunately, Governor Cox in this situation. I wish he'd back off of that abundance thing. These questions are legitimate. Now, I mean, there can be NIMBYism in these discussions. There are people who, we see this with housing. Yeah, everyone agrees we need more apartments and townhomes, but I don't want them near me. Well, where are they going to go? They got to go somewhere. Same thing can happen here. AI, if AI does get where the investors are now saying it's at, Again, it's not there. They just have money on the line. It might get there one day as far as utility goes. In that case, this is the future of the economy in a lot of ways. I also, don't think Senator John Curtis and others who have spoken about what they call an AI arms race of sorts that's broken out globally with every, one of the major, especially military leaders on the planet trying to get there first. This is, or at least build capacity through data centers first, in case it does get there. I don't think that's a made up concern. So, I am definitely not NIMBY on this one. I'm not yes, it needs to happen, but not in my backyard. But I am definitely look, when has it ever really paid off for us to rush something? This is unfortunately, I think when they talk about civics classes at schools, I think they should do civics class field trips where they drive everyone out to Senator Orrin Hatch's pumps in the desert. Because of 2 years of flooding, millions of dollars, both state and federal, were spent building these gigantic pumps to move water from one side to the other. And then water has never been anywhere near these pumps since. Now, part of that is, unfortunately, our overuse of the Great Salt Lake and its shrinking size. But even if we get the lake back to healthy lake levels, according to what the ecologists say is healthy, still a good half a mile to a mile away from those pumps. So greatest example of what rushing things can lead to. So I'm very sympathetic to those who say this is moving too quickly and we have a lot of unanswered questions that need to be answered. The one that gets me, like Commissioner Lee Perry told us, I'm most intrigued about this idea of heat domes that was presented by the USU Climate Center, saying basically they have some early evidence that these data centers might produce, on this scale at least, ones this large, like what's being proposed here in Box Elder County, they are actually large enough to produce enough heat to change the air temperature above them by 1 to 3 degrees. And it only takes 1.5 to 2.5 degrees to create a heat dome, which can actually drive storms away from the area because of the pressure changes. So the storms skirt around this area, and then their airflow is influenced enough. It could mean actually pushing storms out of Box Elder County, down the Wasatch Front to the south, or north a bit and around into Cache Valley. So, that's one that I definitely think we should have an answer to before this gets moved ahead on. But anyway, my point here again is that, no, the questions Box Elder County residents have aren't technological ignorance, as the abundance bros are online saying today. I'm sure there is some NIMBYism, but the majority of it I don't think is. I think it's legitimate concern and also legitimate curiosity, because I spoke to a lot of Box Elder County residents on Monday who said, 2,000 jobs, which is what the developer's promising. If that is real, if these are 2,000 permanent jobs, that's huge for the county. A county, by the way, that gets hit so hard by every recession. Well, here in Cache Valley, we don't get hit as hard. So, yeah, concerns are legitimate. Questions are legitimate. And so is moving ahead with the process and seeing where it goes, with the county having a seat at the table now. I think they made the right decision on Monday. I know that's not going to be popular, but I think they did. All right. On the other side, a new report showing that chronic homelessness in Utah and the crime that goes along with it usually is a nightmare for law enforcement, and law enforcement likely isn't going to be able to solve this one on their own. Talk about what the report says right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Here's Chad, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
The way you water your lawn makes a big difference. Water restrictions and costs have both increased over the years. The Lawn Doctor offers a popular service to help keep your lawn green and healthy while watering less. By adding our HydroGuard service to your lawn care plan, it will help reduce your watering time by up to 1 day a week, saving you both water and money this summer.
Fertilizer, weed, and pest control. Call the Lawn Doctor at 753-LAWN or go to lawndoctor.com.
When something goes wrong at your home, you want someone you can trust, not a stranger from out of town. Canyon Plumbing and Heating has been Cache Valley's locally owned plumber since 2005. Our licensed technicians show up fast, treat your home with respect, and give you honest answers. From Preston to Avon and everywhere in between, we're your neighbors, and we're here to help. Call Canyon Plumbing and Heating at 435-881-6952 because home should always feel like home.
With the arrival of spring, Cache Stormwater Coalition wants to remind us all of 5 simple things we can do to improve our local water source. Pick up and dispose of pet waste. Sweep up and remove loose grass clippings or leaves from sidewalks and hard surfaces. Sweep fertilizers or other lawn chemicals back onto the grassy areas. Wash equipment or vehicles on the grass or at your favorite local professional car wash. And properly dispose of used automotive fluids or dry up and clean up any spills or leaks. We can all make a difference if we do our part. Brought to you by the Cache Stormwater Coalition.
Make laundry a snap with the large load washers and dryers at Mount Logan Laundry. Rather than 8 to 10 loads at home, get the job done in 1 or 2 with their 55 or 80-pound washers and 80-pound dryers that are perfect for sleeping bags, comforters, and other big items. Mount Logan Laundry has free Wi-Fi and drop-off service, plus they're open until midnight. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. Find them at 5th East and 9th North in Logan or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South.
Final story of the day here for everyone. Deseret News reporting on a presentation given to Salt Lake City leaders last week from Utah's Office of Homeless Services. But the presentation was involving statewide data showing that of the 77% of the people most arrested in Utah. Now, that was, by most arrested, they mean anyone that was arrested in 2025 more than 4 times. So in 2025, people arrested more than 4 times here in Utah. 77% of those people were homeless. And of that 77%, the top 25% most arrested individuals accounted for $51 million in police, court, and medical service costs here in the state of Utah, showing that, I mean, that's a hefty price tag for taxpayers. The report also showed that, well, there were some other things. Deseret News reports that criminal recidivism in general was mostly happening over drug possession and trespassing. Makes sense. And that, so we're not necessarily talking about violent crimes here in any way, but still, high cost to taxpayers in police time, court time, medical services, things like that. And so obviously a problem that we need to solve. The report also, though, Tyler Clancy, former state lawmaker and now Utah homeless coordinator with the Utah Office of Homeless Services, told Salt Lake City leaders that, again, you know, he said this is statewide, but he said we cannot law enforcement. And by the way, Clancy is a former member of law enforcement before this appointment from the governor. He said we cannot law enforcement our way out of this. All police can do is keep churning this system along, arresting them, they get out, arrest them again, they get out. It's costing taxpayers a lot of money. It's not solving the issue for those who are experiencing homelessness. It's not reducing our homeless numbers. And unfortunately, that is, for the most part, what's happening in most cities throughout the state of Utah. Just this loop of arrest, release, arrest, release. And again, if you're arresting someone, so many people will respond to this, well, don't release them. What are you going to do? Keep somebody in jail indefinitely for trespassing or a minor marijuana possession charge? No. You know, you're not going to find public support for those types of hefty penalties. But if you want to, you know, get homeless people off the streets, Clancy told the Salt Lake City Council, or Salt Lake County Council, a group of Republicans and Democrats. Clancy told them, we need to get more creative about this. Again, some pretty mind-blowing numbers. One more time, those arrested more than 4 times last year in Utah. 77% of those people were homeless. 25% of that 77% were basically accountable for $51 million in taxpayer costs, police, court, medical services, just last year. Though the top crimes were not violent, trespassing, minor drug possession charges, the recidivism rate was obviously high. And none of this, again, is doing anything to actually get these people off the streets and into a more stable life. Clancy said their office is going to have some recommendations, but the challenge is we're dealing with a homelessness issue in cities large and small. He mentioned Logan, Utah specifically, and large cities like Salt Lake. And he said it's going to take a different solution in every area, but what this data tells us, it can't be on the shoulders of law enforcement alone. Check it out. I've linked to it on our Facebook page.